Hi Year 9 and welcome to this tutorial on the speaking exam. At this time of year we would normally at Wellington be preparing you for internal end of year exams. Obviously things are a bit different at the moment, but we want to give you an idea of what to expect from the GCSE speaking exam so that you can be preparing and getting yourself ready for Year 10. So firstly then, languages are assessed over 4 key skills, so listening, writing, reading and speaking, and they are equally weighted at GCSE, so each of those is worth 25% of your overall mark. The speaking exam is the very first of the exams to happen in Year 11. It is usually in around about April time, early April, and it consists of 3 parts. There is a role play, a photo card and a conversation part to your exam. The way they break down in terms of marks and timings is here. So your role play is just 2 minutes long. Your photo card, the length of time will depend on whether you do foundation or higher. So 2 minutes for foundation and approximately 3 minutes for higher. The conversation part, again, it depends on whether you do foundation or higher, but between 3 and 5 minutes for foundation and between 5 and 7 minutes for higher. As you can see, the marks are 15 marks for the role play, 15 marks for the photo card, and 30 for the conversation. So it's obviously really important that you are preparing these questions beforehand, that you know them really well, that you can pronounce them correctly, and that you're ready for some of the follow-up questions that may well occur. Your teacher is likely to ask you things to just clarify what you've said or to give a little bit more information if you haven't given a particularly developed answer. Just to say as well, your speaking exam will be conducted with your MFL teacher. So whoever's been teaching you for the past 2 years, 3 years possibly, will be your teacher, your examiner in the final GCSE speaking exam. The role play then, the first part of the exam, the role play and the photo card, as you will have seen on this sheet, have a preparation time. So 12 minutes, and that is under examination conditions. You will be taken into a room where you are given a role play and a photo card sheet, and you spend that 12 minutes preparing for those 2 aspects of your exam. The role play is short, sharp answers. We use the phrase role play really precise. So think of RP for role play and also for really precise, because in this part you do not need to give any form of development or opinions. You are given a scene setting sentence, so it might tell you that you're in a cafe or that you're in a shop, and then it will give you 5 bullet points that you have got to answer or cover. Usually it's things like, say for example, you're in a cafe, you might have to request a table, ask for a vegetarian meal, say that there's a problem with your food, ask for the bill, and then comment on the food itself, for example. This structure is always includes 2 aspects. So one will be a question mark where you have to ask a question of your examiner. In the example that I gave, are there any vegetarian dishes available? The second part that will always occur in the roleplay bullet points is an exclamation mark, and that is the sort of unpredicted part of the roleplay. So during your 12 minutes preparation, you would not necessarily know how to prepare for that particular question, but it would be something quite simple that you respond to in a short sentence. In the photo card then you are given a picture, a photo, and 3 questions that ask you about the topic that is dealt with in the photograph. The first question on the photo card is always what is there on the photo in whichever language you're studying, and we encourage you to answer that using the palm technique. That gives you a developed answer, and we encourage you to use an opinion in that as well. So whereas with role play we said role play really precise, photo card PC we say please continue. So PC for photocard is please continue, because this is the part of the exam where you do have to give extra details and more information. The 3 questions that you will have prepared in your 12 minutes preparation time on the photocard are then followed by another 2 questions, which again are sort of linked into the theme that the photocard dealt with. The conversation part then, the final part of your exam, as you've seen, it's worth 30 marks and can last up to 7 minutes if you're doing higher. This is the part of the exam though that you can be walking into 100% confident because you've prepared really well in advance for it. So we will give you a booklet of questions to prepare, and you'll begin preparing those straight away at the start of year 10, so you'll have plenty of time to adapt them, improve them as you learn more snazzy phrases and more interesting opinions. But you should begin learning how to answer these questions very, very early on, so that it becomes a natural response and that you're able to speak on these topic areas quite fluently. The conversation part, as I've said, you will have prepared some questions, but there are also additional questions that your teacher might ask you for some follow-up information. If, for example, you gave a very short answer for a particular question, your teacher might ask you to expand, to give an opinion on it, for example. The conversation also requires you to ask a question of the examiner. So during one of your answers, we encourage you to prepare the response and you in whichever language you're studying. So say, for example, you have just answered the question, do you like going to the cinema? You say, yes, I love going to the cinema. I think it's very interesting. However, sometimes it is quite expensive. And you? And you finish your answer like that, asking and you of your examiner, and you have then ticked the box of the question, and we know that you've covered it then. Okay, I think that's just about covered everything that I wanted to say about the speaking exam. If you do have any questions about the speaking exam, how it is conducted, or any of the details that I've given were not clear, then please do feel free to email either your language teacher or myself, and I can always put up another video on here clearing up any issues that you might have. In the meantime though, do start learning your answers to the conversation questions that you've begun preparing as part of your work packs, and good luck!